Greetings and thank you for joining me as I outline the state of Washington University in St. Louis over the course of this past year. This is something you can expect me to do annually. While I've been planning to give this address for a year now, I certainly could have never predicted we'd be here in this moment living under these circumstances. A little over a year ago, in October 2019, I addressed a large crowd in Brookings Quadrangle and shared my vision for our Washington University momentum. That word, momentum, suddenly has a different meaning today as we continue to confront the current challenges facing our region, our country, and our world. COVID-19, the ongoing racial injustices that plague our nation, along with our polarized political climate and threats to our democracy. In some ways, it may seem that we have come to a full stop, that we have lost our momentum. As you know, 2020 was a year like no other, and here at WashU, we have not been immune to these and other challenges. That said, I do not believe we have lost our momentum. Indeed, I believe we are keeping our momentum, and I am extremely proud of this community and the many ways all of you have stepped up to help us continue to build on the firm foundation we have in place. Today, I'm going to outline the major highlights that reflect the myriad ways we kept our momentum in 2020 and will continue to do so as we look to the future with confidence. We are keeping the momentum through our academic distinction. One piece of that has to do with leadership. I'm pleased that in 2020, we welcomed two key members to our community who, along with all of our deans and administrative leaders, will continue to move our trajectory of academic distinction forward. First is our new provost, Beverly Wendland. Prior to joining us here at WashU, Provost Wendland served as Dean of the Krieger School of Arts and Sciences at Johns Hopkins and was also a member of the Johns Hopkins faculty and the Department of Biology for more than 20 years. Since she started in July, I can tell you that she has hit the ground running, and even before July, she was essential to our conversations and processes for fall planning. Beverly is now spearheading our strategic planning, which began in January. Our second key leadership hire is Feng Chung Hu. Dean Hu comes to us from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, where he served as the Harry E. Preble Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. Dean Hu has also hit the ground running, and I'm thrilled to have the chance to partner with him as we continue to bolster arts and sciences. We are also keeping the momentum through our response to COVID-19, which has been a resounding example of our academic distinction as well as our commitment to utilizing our education, research, and patient care mission to improve lives in service of the greater good. Here are just a few examples. The enormous and Herculean pivot on both the Danforth and medical campuses to shift abruptly to remote learning, research, and patient care, the ways our online delivery platforms have mirrored our distinction in providing a world-class education, and the same for telehealth appointments and major shifts in research initiatives. We also show distinction through our response to the pandemic at the school level. Perhaps the most obvious has been our School of Medicine's ongoing work on COVID-19 vaccine research and therapeutic treatments, in addition to launching our rapid saliva test, which is now being widely used. And of course, the strong and compassionate patient care we have provided throughout the region in response to the pandemic. Thankfully, as of the last 2 weeks of December, colleagues on our medical campus, along with our partners at BJC Healthcare, began getting vaccinated, and as of last month, started administering vaccines to the public based on the phases and tiers set forth by the states of Missouri and Illinois. In addition to what's happening through the School of Medicine, we also have wide-ranging research, education, and community outreach coming out of our academic units on the Danforth campus. In arts and sciences, we have research related to everything from COVID and the leisure gap between men and women, the links between COVID and other pandemics throughout history, the pandemic's impact on society, and more. I've also been delighted to see so many new courses in arts and sciences utilizing this current moment to build strong pedagogy. We have leading experts in the Brown School, lending their talents throughout the region and providing ongoing research related to COVID's impact on health, economic, education, and racial disparities. Law school faculty sharing expertise on drug and health policies as they relate to the pandemic, as well as on matters of immigration. In the McKelvey School, we have research being conducted on COVID-19 and airflow, the efficacy of plexiglass and social distancing, and more. The school also continues to forge stronger relationships with our international partners in China and India. We have students and faculty in Olin providing resources and consultation to local businesses, as well as the ongoing research related to COVID-19 and our economic health. Sam Fox students and faculty responded quickly through the WashU Maker Task Force, which supports patients and frontline medical staff by designing, prototyping, and testing potential PPE solutions, as well as coordinating their manufacture with local makers and fabricators. Even in the midst of and aside from the pandemic, our faculty across all schools have continued to work diligently to address so many of our world's pressing problems, from climate change to our ecosystem, mental health, cancer and Alzheimer's research, our political climate, and so much more. In fact, in 2020, our total research revenue was up $25.5 million from fiscal year 19 for a total of $660.7 million. To break it down by campus, our revenue was up $3.8 million on the Danforth campus and up $22.7 million on the medical campus. This is extraordinary news, especially given the circumstances, and I'm incredibly proud of all we accomplished. We are also keeping the momentum through the ongoing work on racial equity. In June, I shared a letter with the university community outlining 14 commitments to advance racial equity. These represent the first steps in a long-term strategy to transform the way Washington University actively pursues racial equity, both on our campuses and in St. Louis. I have tasked a committee of university leaders to assure our progress and accountability to these action items. Some of those colleagues have perspectives and updates to share today. Let's hear from them now.
The Chancellor announced a plan for a Danforth campus-wide cluster of 12 new faculty to further enhance the university's distinction in race and ethnicity. So I stood up the Cluster Hire Review Committee to issue a call for proposals from across the campus, and this was met with great enthusiasm. With the advice and counsel of this committee, I selected 5 submissions to move forward as part of our first round of cluster hires. These new hires are going to enhance the work of our current faculty, generate countless opportunities for our students, and also build pathways for greater community impact. And I'm really excited we're working on the second round of these proposals right now. Additionally, we're working with the deans on school-based strategies to advance racial equity, with a strong emphasis on inclusive pedagogy and our role in the St. Louis community.
The voices of our Black students this summer really demanded that we looked internally, looked at ourselves. What was the direction that we wanted to take our campus? As a result, it meant that we had to look at forming new partnerships across our campus, looking across the Division of Student Affairs, and evaluating the Center for Diversity and Inclusion. As a result of this work, our students were brought into a number of different spaces across campus, on councils, committees, and a lot of service on task forces as well, to really push this work forward. Some of the immediate things that happened over the last 6 months was Racism Pandemic Town Hall Series, Say Their Names Vigil, and the creation of courses, trainings, and the reallocation of resources to support our students' work. We had to look at the CDI, and we defined 3 different main areas of focus. And that's identity and intersectionality, advocacy and policy, and education and training. These areas together provide our students with a guide. This is extraordinarily important as we think about how racial equity impacts both their experience and the experience of the future of our campus.
We've been working hard across a few domains of racial justice. First, the Center for the Study of Race, Ethnicity, and Equity, which we call CRE2, it brings the research force, the vast research force of Washington University to study how race and ethnicity are integral to the most complex and challenging issues of our time. I was thrilled when the Center for the Study of Race, Ethnicity, and Equity had our official national launch in October. We have almost 100 faculty, staff, postdoc, and resident and trainee affiliates. And we have been trying to actively support and catalyze our colleagues' research. And at the university, we've also continued to recruit the very best scholars and researchers in the world. Our tenure and tenure track faculty of color has grown exponentially. Our Asian faculty has grown by 28%, and our Hispanic, Latino, Latinx faculty has grown 71%, and our Black faculty has grown 133%. We know that we have a lot of work to do if we're going to truly make racial justice an organic part of the landscape in our community. But we also, I think, are getting some confidence that we can do it. I'm excited to see how CRE2 will bolster the university's resolve also to be in, with, and for St. Louis. We want for St. Louis to model an equitable urban future for the country and for the rest of the world. And I believe that CRE2 will play a vital role in continuing to move all of these communities forward.
In the Academy's work with staff and faculty since our founding a little over 2 years ago, a common theme has been accountability, and accountability for issues at the institutional level. So the momentum of this summer's uprising made it possible to fast track one of the more expansive ideas toward that, which is the Equity and Inclusion Council. The council's work, it's designed to be reflective and responsive to issues of inclusion and equity as they present themselves most acutely in the university community. In December, the council released an update to the community on its initial steps, grounding, forming, and plans for the spring semester. The core work of the Academy is partnering with units and departments across the institution on strategies to shift culture and climate. It's not soundbitey work, it's not fast work, but it's the only option for seeing a shift toward a culture and climate that works for the full of our WashU community. I'd like to see us continue to build the capacity to see change differently and be collectively willing to put in the uncomfortable work necessary to chart new territory.
Thank you to my colleagues for sharing that update, and I look forward to all we'll continue to do together to make Washington University and our surrounding communities more equitable for all. This serves as a nice transition to the second pillar and the ways we are keeping our momentum through educational access. As you can imagine, COVID-19 has had innumerable impacts on college enrollments across the country, but I'm pleased to report that at WashU, we have an outstanding class of 2024, which includes 1,806 students compared to 1,735 for the class of 2023 as of the same date. An additional 118 students elected to take a gap year and will join the class of 2025. Members of the class of 2024 hail from 49 states and 20 countries. 16% of the class is Pell eligible, an increase of 1 percentage point from last year, and 21% identify as underrepresented students of color. 5% of the class is in the newly launched WashU Pledge program that provides a free undergraduate education to full-time Missouri and Southern Illinois students who are Pell eligible or from families with annual incomes of $75,000 or less. Hailing from Cape Girardeau, Tanner Smith is one of those students who may not have come to Washington University had it not been for our commitment to increasing our educational access and the WashU Pledge. Let's hear from Tanner.
Hi, my name's Tanner Smith. I learned about the WashU Pledge after my mom found it on Facebook. It was insane at the time to think that such a good school could give me so many resources. And so when I got in, it was the most amazing feeling to know that for the next 4 years, I'd have the resources to study what I wanted to study. It's enabling me to study cognitive neuroscience and psychology, and even through the pandemic, I'm able to do a ton of things, and I've met a lot of really cool people. I'm excited to pursue psychology someday, and I'm really happy to be on the WashU Pledge.
Thank you, Tanner. I'm thrilled we are able to offer a world-class education to many more talented students like him, and will continue to do even more in the future. Our admissions projections for the class of 2025 are extremely positive. Our first-year applications are 20% ahead of 2020, with more than 33,000 applications, 2,000 more than our previous application record, which was in the fall of 2018. This is truly remarkable. The way we addressed issues and access in light of COVID-19 was also inspiring. As you know, the abrupt end to on-campus learning was hard on all students, but especially those who experienced loss of income or housing displacement, along with parents and guardians who have also struggled to make ends meet. In response, our colleagues in admissions and financial aid have reported that we allocated nearly $7 million to supporting students during COVID thus far, including more than $4 million in additional aid to students whose financial circumstances have changed, and more than $1 million in employment and work-study grants and summer earnings replacement. As part of that total figure, we also allocated nearly $900,000 from our own operating budget to the Crisis Response Fund, which we launched in March. To date, we have secured more than $800,000 in philanthropic gifts to support that fund and distributed the combined funds to more than 1,200 students, faculty, staff, and contract employees, both last spring as well as in the fall, with funds being distributed to even more individuals this year. We've also supported students through the newly created Tech Hub and the technology grants we have awarded to undergraduate and graduate students alike. As of last month, more than 700 undergraduate students eligible for a technology grant through the campus bookstore have used their funds to purchase a computer. Student Financial Services also helped to identify another $250,000 in funding to support graduate, professional, and university college student technology needs. In addition, we are currently supporting students working from internet service deserts who need better access for educational work. In such instances, the newly created TechDen has been issuing loaner MiFi devices on a case-by-case basis after troubleshooting local access issues. There are many other ways we are supporting students during this time, including reduced student fees, reduced parking costs, dining assistance, support for commuter students, and more. We've made all these decisions simply because it was the right thing to do, though we know that financial aid is just one step in increasing access. Many students need even more support in order to thrive. That's why I recently committed $250,000 to a new initiative called the Chancellor's Careers Fellows Program. In coordination with Student Affairs, the Office for Student Success, and the Career Center, the program is specifically for first-generation and low-income students who may have limited professional connections and exposure to career fields. Because many worthwhile internships are unpaid, stipends allow students to accept significant internship experiences that they may have otherwise had to pass up. In January, we extended offers to our first cohort of fellows, a total of 61 students from a diverse array of backgrounds and disciplines who will each benefit from a paid summer internship, an individualized career plan, and networking and mentoring opportunities. Access will continue to be a big priority as we move forward. I'm delighted that we're making strides and that we have some positive news on the horizon that will build on our firm foundation. The third pillar and way we are keeping the momentum is through our strengthened resolve to be in, with, and for St. Louis. Our response to COVID-19 within the community is a strong example of this. Our response through our patient care mission has been extraordinary. We also housed healthcare workers in the lofts and the night center during the summer months. Our students, faculty, and staff have done a lot in the community, providing food to first responders, supporting local businesses and restaurants during the shutdown, students volunteering with elderly as well as tutoring area K-12 students, and much more. It has been amazing to see our WashU community stepping up in big and bold ways in support of our region and in support of mitigating the effects of the pandemic. I'm also pleased that Hank Weber has recently pivoted to Executive Vice Chancellor for Civic Affairs and Strategic Planning, with a sharp focus on regional equitable economic development, community engagement, and partnership with the university's neighborhoods and civic and community leaders. In this vein, we continue to make progress to be a better neighbor, citizen, and healthcare provider in the region, as well as our role as the third largest employer. Let's hear more from Hank about that vision and impact.
At Washington University, we are not just in St. Louis, but for St. Louis. We're one of the world's great teaching, research, and patient care institutions. How can we harness that energy, as well as our role as a large anchor institution, to benefit our community? In some areas, we already do this remarkably well. Siteman Cancer Center provides excellent, superb, internationally recognized cancer treatment for patients, predominantly from St. Louis, while also training the next generation of medical providers. We are the third largest employer in the St. Louis region, well over 16,000 employees, and we purchase hundreds of millions of dollars worth of services and supplies annually. Can we direct more of that activity to benefit our communities? I think we can. We have a strong supplier diversity program. Can we become a national leader in supplier diversity? I think we can. Each year, thousands of students come to Washington University for the first time. Can we attract a greater number of them to stay and make a positive influence in our community? I think we can. As our community is stronger, we are stronger.
There is so much more we are doing in addition to these highlights. The newly launched CRE2 will play a big role in using research to inform policy and connect with partners to strengthen the region. The work of the Gephardt Institute continues to empower students, faculty, and staff to be stronger citizens throughout the region. This past election was a tangible example, when nearly 2,600 students signed up via our online voter registration platform. This put us third in the nation for college campuses with the most registrations. And on Election Day, nearly 1,200 St. Louis County voters cast ballots in the Fieldhouse, myself among them. The Gephardt Institute has continued to engage students in productive activities like facilitated discussions and community service opportunities throughout the winter. Our Institute for School Partnership also continues to do incredible work to support K-12 schools throughout the region, as well as the work being done across our schools to address issues such as gun violence, malnutrition, mental health and suicide, biodiversity, and more. The pandemic has made it abundantly clear that there is so much need and also so much potential in our communities, and we must continue to do our part by utilizing our mission to make St. Louis a better and more equitable place for all to live. I want to talk briefly about our finances and operations this past year. Unfortunately, we were not immune to the financial ramifications this pandemic has had both locally and globally. In early April, we needed to turn to the budget for the rest of fiscal year 2020, but also for fiscal 2021. I've outlined the steps we had to take in a variety of outlets this year, so let me quickly summarize. We had to make some sweeping budget cuts, furlough employees and reduce hours for others, reductions in salary for some, and we also made the tough decision not to pay our typical retirement match for a period of time, all to accommodate for our revenue losses on the medical campus and the enormous costs associated with the first shutdown of our Danforth residential campus, and now with this academic year, and keeping our campuses in line with health and safety guidelines, surveillance testing, low-density residence halls, losses in fees and room and board, and more. Words cannot even begin to express how difficult these decisions were for me and many of my colleagues. Many of you know firsthand how devastating this was for our community because you unfortunately had to make sacrifices. Whether that meant you had to stretch your budget thinner, you lost some retirement savings, or you yourself had to take furlough. Whatever the case, please know how thankful I am for you, for your strength, resilience, and adaptations. While all of this was devastating at the time, I am pleased that our financial outlook is better than we had originally anticipated. Our medical revenue rebounded much more quickly than expected, and we had better than expected fiscal year in terms of research funding. And now we're starting to reverse some of the difficult decisions we had to make regarding cuts and retirement benefits. For example, we were able to reinstate the retirement match just after 4 months. And several weeks ago, I was able to share that we will be awarding significant merit raises this year, 3 months earlier than we usually do. We are doing this all while holding undergraduate tuition at the lowest increase in 60 years and projecting more than $150 million in financial aid spending this fiscal year. Contributing to our financial performance, I'm also happy to report that in fiscal year 20, we had one of the best endowment performances in the country. I'm pleased with the work of the Washington University Investment Management Company and the ways they also continue to support and invest in our mission and help us steward the resources that have been entrusted to us. Looking forward, we are tracking better than expected for fiscal 21. This is all great, though we must remain cautiously optimistic as we continue to have concerns about the present state of public health and what might come. I remain hopeful we can continue this solid trajectory, especially now with the vaccine rollout. Operationally, we continue to move forward and adjust to the circumstances. As you recall, in October 2019, we dedicated the east end of the Danforth campus, and I'm happy to report that McKelvey Hall just finished completion, with move-in taking place as we speak. With McKelvey Hall now complete, this marks the first time in a very long time without a major capital project on the Danforth campus. On the medical campus, progress has continued on the Neuroscience Research Building after we broke ground in March of last year. The 11-story, 609,000 square foot building will be a major new asset for the School of Medicine and initially will bring together more than 100 research teams. In terms of administrative leadership, we've had a few folks fill interim positions this year, and I'm grateful for their willingness to step up. Julie Flory is Interim Vice Chancellor of Public Affairs, Rob Wild is Interim Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, and Stephanie Reel as Interim Chief Information Officer. I'm also thankful for all of our staff and the steps you have taken to keep our community safe during this pandemic. The response to COVID-19 from all units was nothing short of amazing. From HR to IT, advancement, admissions and financial aid, public affairs, facilities and planning, and public safety. Each of you played your part, and we couldn't have done it without you. As you know, our plans to return to normal operations continue to be in flux, and we are dependent on the pandemic and its impact on the region. We have reports from Human Resources that suggest we are doing exceedingly well under these conditions, with many units able to function remotely for the time being. In many ways, this was no surprise, given that we already come to the table with an extraordinarily talented group of colleagues. And the pandemic certainly makes us think about what the future of work looks like even after the pandemic. In fact, we have already stood up a task force devoted to this very topic. This past year, to respond to the changing needs of our employees, we have had to make a few adjustments already. Flexible work arrangements policy, which allows for employees and supervisors to work together on a schedule that is beneficial for everyone. Additional backup care through Bright Horizons from 15 days to 30 days. Expanded hours and eligibility to the Family Learning Center and healthcare providers. The hiring of a new child care facilitator to provide individual problem solving. Additional mental health and work-life support in collaboration with the medical school faculty to provide counseling, wellness activities, and resources online. I'm also thrilled to share that we froze the cost of benefits for this calendar year. You can find all of these and other resources on the HR website. As always, we will continue to monitor things closely and make adjustments as necessary. We've faced many challenges and opportunities over this past year, and we will continue to face many as we move into the future. Given the way we have adjusted, rebounded, and grown in the last year alone, it gives me immense confidence that we can do anything as long as we do it together. I would be remiss if I went this entire address without mentioning our beloved Chancellor Emeritus Bill Danforth, who passed away in September. Bill was and continues to be a pillar of this community, and I am honored to have the opportunity to build on the legacy he and my other predecessors established as I serve as your 15th Chancellor. I want to close our time together with a quote from Bill, who once said, "I believe that given the complexity of the times, the university will be needed more than ever. As we look to the future, we must remember that we wouldn't be where we are today without our firm foundation and the people who came before who helped us get to this point." Throughout our entire history, Washington University has been considered an extraordinary place of distinction in education, research, and patient care. Let's continue to build on that firm foundation and increase our purpose and momentum as we weather this current storm and live out our mission to improve lives in service of the greater good. Thank you.